Hello and welcome to Peggy's Plants, coming to you from the Florida Keys. Hi, I'm Peggy. Thanks for joining me. I hope you and yours are well. Today I'd like to share with you some plants I have not yet shared with you that I purchased within the last month. I have kind of slowed down on my buying, although I've been buying more than I have intended to buy just because situations have arisen, like the Aroid show that I took you with me to, and then that rare plant nursery that I found. So in those situations, I had to buy. I was obligated to get something. So today I'd like to share with you 4 plants that I purchased over the last month that I have not shared with you yet. So let's get to the plants. If you saw my most recent video, it was a tour of Ecuagenera US nursery, at least their Aroid greenhouse. And while I was there, I did mention in the video that I picked up 2 plants. So I'm going to share those 2 plants with you first. You may recall from that video, one of the first plants that I saw was the Monstero Raticans. I had never seen one of these plants before, had never heard of one of these plants, and I saw it as soon as I came through the door, and I knew right then I had to bring one home. So I picked up this one. What attracted me so much to this plant is, I think, the shape of the leaves and the veining. It's just unlike any other plant that I can really think of that I have in my collection. So I had to get one. Now, with most Ecuagenera plants that I get in the mail, I consider them rehab, so I wasn't sure what to expect buying direct from the nursery. But as you can see, this soil is really, really wet. So even though it was such a nice looking plant, I still had some concerns, and rightly so. I just kind of tugged on the stem of the plant and the whole thing just came right out of the pot. And as you can see here, the reason it came out so easily is because there's no roots anchoring it to the soil. If you recall my video on my plant routine, when I bring home a new plant, I said I always check the roots to see what I'm working with. I think this is one of those instances where checking to see what I'm working with probably saved this plant. So this plant has to be rehabbed. I need some roots. So I decided to go ahead and pot it up, but I didn't put it in soil because, like I said, I wanted to get some roots. So I decided to put it in some leca pellets. And it is here with some of my other plants under a grow light. This is what it's looking like today. It's doing well. The leaves are not drooping like they were at one point. They had started drooping. I haven't lost any leaves or anything. It's looking pretty good, but it's in the leca pellets and I'm trying to get some roots growing. The second plant that I purchased on my Ecuagenera trip was this Elchoco red. Now, I know you're not at home oohing and aahing, and this is the most beautiful Elchoco you've ever seen. But they only had 2, and another lady picked up the other one, so this is the one that was left, and I decided to go ahead and get it. I've been wanting to propagate one. So as you can see, this is an older leaf. It has lost its red on the back, but at least looking at this plant, there's some redeeming qualities. It does have a nice leaf that is in the process of unfurling. You can see the red coloring on there, so that looks nice. And then if I turn it around and show you in here, you can see that another leaf is going to be coming out soon. So I'm happy about that. And I did pick it up because their Elchocos cost less than everywhere else. But again, this plant has some issues. The soil is very wet and the pot is heavy. I recently purchased an Elchoco from this same company through their website, and I received it through the mail. And this beautiful one here with the big pretty leaves, I paid the same price as for the one that I purchased at their nursery. That doesn't look quite as good. So yeah, it was a good deal still, but a little disappointing. I think I'll stick to the website. But this is what the plant looks like today. Needless to say, it did have issues. This plant had absolutely no roots when I got it and I pulled it out of the pot. This leaf unfurled, but it's struggling a little bit because there are no roots on this plant. In fact, let me show you what the roots look like today, or the lack thereof. So this did turn out to end up being a rehab project also. And this is what the roots look like today. There are some areas where you can see some tiny little white roots, so it looks like things are taking a turn in the right direction. So I'm excited about this plant, and I think it'll be just fine in the end. Meanwhile, this plant is being kept in my grow tent, and it seems to be doing okay. So I'll just leave it alone and let it do its thing. Next up is a plant that I purchased from GreenspacesID, a seller out of Indonesia, and it was actually a 2-plant purchase, but one arrived DOA. It was like dead, even the roots were gone. And that was a Scindapsus lucens. That was a plant that I've been wanting for quite some time, and it just didn't make it. And so now let's get to the plant that did make it. This beautiful plant is something that I have been trying to acquire for probably the last 1.5 to 2 years. This is the Scindapsus trubii dart form, and I am so happy to finally have this in my collection. I did recently trade for a small cutting. I've been propagating that cutting, but when I had the opportunity to finally get my hands on a developed trubii dart form, I had to go for it. The leaves do show some damage from transport, but it hasn't dropped any leaves. It's doing great. Now, just to give you a quick look in case you're not familiar with the trubii, this is the trubii moonlight, and this one is the trubii dart form. And with more light and maturity, the leaves will get darker on this, almost like a ZZ Raven. So I'm so excited to finally have this plant, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. Even though this plant was imported all the way from Indonesia, it arrived in excellent condition. The roots were in healthy condition. I was able to pot it up right away. It hasn't wilted, it hasn't lost any leaves, and it's just hanging out here in my plant nook area with the rest of my plants, looking fabulous. And as you can see, with more light, the leaves are already getting much darker. So I'm very pleased with this plant. Last but not least is a plant that I purchased from Kerby Nursery, which is in the Tampa area. And I did not get it when I was in the area, but I ended up purchasing it online. I thought that I had shared this plant with you. I don't know how I didn't, but maybe because it was just one plant, I didn't. I don't know what my thinking was. But anyway, I'll share it with you today. Right over here on my plant rack is this beautiful variegated whale fin. And I think this probably was not purchased 30 days ago. It's been a little bit longer than that. But I got this for $40, $45, Kerby Nursery online. I love this plant. I had seen one and passed up on it. Had traded for one before and rotted it. So I decided I really wanted another variegated whale fin. So I'm so happy to have this one. And the pup was a little smaller when I got it, and now it's bigger than the mother plant, but showing some nice coloration, and it's doing really well. I don't know how I rotted the last one I had because I tend to be an underwaterer, but some kind of way it happened. I didn't have it long at all, but this one is doing very well, so I'm thrilled to have it. So that's about it. Not a lot to share, but some nice plants nonetheless. I'm very excited and hopeful that all of them will survive and do well, and I will keep you all posted on that. I know that many of you have requested various updates, and I am getting on it. I, for some reason, seem like I just can't get myself together these days and keep up, but I'll be posting some updates. And also I'm going to release a video on moss poles. I'm going to show you how I make moss poles. So those will be upcoming within the next few weeks. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care, stay well, bye-bye.